It's time for something different and fun and kind of memey. Let's make a tier list. My name is Ryan, and I used to be good at Warmachine. Welcome to Spell Rack. Today, we're going to put a tier list together, mostly just because I think tier lists are a lot of fun. There's a reason we all click on them all the time, even though it's kind of a joke. Today, let's look at all of the character units that exist inside of the faction. The Frozen and Forgotten box set that's coming out soon introduces new character units, one for Dusk and one for Orgoth. And so with the addition of those two, I thought, let's take a fresh look at the whole lot. So here is our tier list maker, and we will start over here with Crix. Let's pull up the Furies. Furies are now all identical, as opposed to, it used to be that the three of them each had different abilities. So look at them to start. 1414 Incorporeal, 8 boxes each. Being incorporeal is pretty solid. It's not the most offensive thing, but they're still very good there. They are 10 points, so they're a little bit expensive, but let's look at their abilities. Namely, we want to look at Power of Death. While within 10 inches of this model, friendly undead models gain 2 to their melee attack damage rolls. All 3 of them can each independently do this. So while you can spread out a pretty large bubble with them, or you go 10 inches one way and 10 inches the other way, you could probably expand that to 26 inches with them being spread out. The other item is Mortal Fear. While within 8 inches of this model, living enemy models suffer -2 to damage rolls, which is just a very incredible abilities. Again, we see hate for living models, but Crix now has access to actually a fair amount of meaty, medium-based models. So having the Furies lined up behind them is quite powerful. They do have a Mat 7 Pow 14 hit, and if you're not casting your buffs, Mortal Fear you get for free. If maybe only your 2 outside guys are doing the Power of Death, they do have a range 10 Pow 12 attack, or they can give a reroll. I think the Furies are absolutely incredible, and I'm going to start off with the Furies up here in the S tier. All right, next we'll go to Gravediggers. Inside of Gravediggers, we have the Rowdies. Unfortunately, the Rowdies are 3 distinct units, so there's a lot more to track here. The Rowdies are very interesting. They don't do a ton of damage. Range 4, Pow 14 ain't doing a lot. Pow 9 Weapon Master, Gray 8, Pow 12, Pow 9 Weapon Master, and then a range 6, Pow 12 gun with a range 10, Pow 10, Pow 9 Weapon Master. There's some decent stuff on here. You can give -2 defense for a turn with Flare. That's got pretty good utility. Let's look at the granted abilities. They have Killing Spree. So if this model destroys one or more enemy models with a melee attack, it can advance 1 inch and make an additional attack. So Killing Spree is fantastic if you're trying to chew through melee units. So you do have a Mat 7 body, and this is granted, so all 3 of them have it. You have a Mat 7 body with a Pow 9 Weapon Master. You could try to clean up a lot of small base infantry. I forgot to look at their defensive statistics. They are 14, 13s tough, 8 boxes, and they have prowl. So a lot of times they're going to have stealth. They have granted reposition, and then they have granted precision fire. While this model is in play, can re-roll range attack damage rolls. While their range attacks are kind of lackluster, that re-roll certainly helps. Where I think they're a very interesting unit is in these smoke bombs. You can put down a cloud, and then because they're granted reposition 3, you can put out a cloud wall, effectively 9 inches wide, and then back up. So Gravediggers has the option to hide 9 inches of the field, and hopefully you're putting that like right next to a forest or next to a building, and so you block a large portion of the field, and it gives them a very, very strong utility power. Their damage, though, just kind of feels kind of funky, and that smoke wall can be really good, but there's a decent amount of ways around it. For now, I'm going to put them in a B tier. Next, we'll go to Storm Legion. The Black 13th are absolutely incredible. I think these guys are fantastic. 15, 12, 8 wounds each. They have granted Prey, which can really up their damage. They each have Prowl. They have granted Reposition 3, and then they have granted True Sight. So True Sight's going to let you ignore clouds and stealth. So that cloud wall that the rowdies were putting up, these guys don't care. What's incredible with these guys is obviously their range attacks, being gun mages. The first one here with 2 attacks, brutal damage, thunderbolt, shadow fire. You can make something not block line of sight. We're seeing a lot more colossals these days. So being able to shadow fire a huge base and get to a caster behind it, tremendous utility. Plus you have brutal damage, 2 attacks each, rat 7. Let's look at Watts. Watts is range 14. Black Penny lets you shoot into melee, can do a blast shot or brutal damage. The best part of this unit, though, is Glover and Momentum. He has rate of fire 2, and Momentum's going to allow you to shoot 2 models. They're smaller, medium base. They're going to get slammed D3. If they're large, they're just going to get knocked down. It's an incredible amount of control. Being able to put damage on pieces, knock them down, push them back. He's just a fantastic piece. The Black 13th, I believe, are an S tier unit. I don't see any reason not to take them. Next, let's go to House Callus. We will look at their new unit that's released in the Frozen and Forgotten box. I thought these guys were very interesting upon release. And now that I've done some analysis for this video, I find them far less appealing. They are 13-16 with 8 boxes, so good durability. They get +2 defense and can't be knocked down while base to base. Palliatory Strike allows them to swing back. And they get +2 armor and melee damage if a friendly faction model takes damage within 10 inches of them. So really, theoretically, they're going to be 15-16s, and then they can go to 15-18s with Righteous Fury. They are POW 10 Weapon Masters, and they can go to POW 12 Weapon Masters off of Righteous Fury. They're speed 6 with 2-inch reach, so they threat 11 inches. My issue with them here is that they're just a melee unit, and they're a melee unit that relies on triggers from your opponent. They can get toasted, I think, pretty quickly on the approach. They're one of 2 units here that don't have any range attacks. I just think it limits their ability to approach the game. I'm going to put them in the C tier. As much as I liked them to start with, I'm not a fan sort of after this. Going on to Old Umbry now, we have their character unit, which I must say are probably some of the coolest models on this list, the Chosen of the Witch. Again, here we have 3 different models, 14, 17, 10 boxes each. They each have their speed 7, mat 7. They have a 2-inch reach, POW 15 weapon. They're all the same in that way. So let's look at what they do. Divine Inspiration. This model gains additional dice on melee attack and damage rolls, discarding the lowest. So this is your signs importance effect. And I think a long time ago, we did the math and figured out that effect was worth, I believe, 2.2 in addition to any of your stats. So these guys are actually mat 9, POW 17. That is big damage. In addition, they have Righteous Vengeance. If one or more friendly warrior models were destroyed or moved from play by enemy attacks while within 5 inches, during their maintenance, they can move 3 and make a basic attack. Even if you're not making an attack and you're just making a threat enhancement, going from that free 3 inches, your speed 7 range reach 2, so you have a 12-inch threat base. With that 3-inch move, now you're threading 15 inches with a mat 9 POW 17. These guys are very solid. I'm going to put them in the A tier. Go on to our next unit in Winter Core. The Hounds have always been a very solid unit. They have a decent stat line at 14-15, and they have shield wall. So they will be +2 armor base to base. So they're going to be 14-17s. They are mat and rat 6, but you have granted inspiration here. So making them mat 7, rat 7. They are just a very good combined arms unit. This gun here is not necessarily great, only being range 8. Armor piercing can be cool. POW 12 shield. Here you have a range 12 POW 12 arcing fire, AoE 2, very solid. And then Scrobola with the assault cannon is so good. I mean, he makes the unit. Your range 12, POW 12, D3 +1 volume fire shots with crit knockdown. This gun is bananas. And then let's look at what is granted to the unit. We have granted reposition here. We have granted prowl here. And then we have that granted inspiration here. So the Hounds just do a lot of, they hold some ground. And while they're at it, they're putting out range 12 shots. It gives them really good utility in the sort of mid game. And if they need to, they do have combined arms, so they can get up there and charge something with the POW 12 and then shoot guns. I'm going to put the Hounds in the A tier because I think they are a very solid unit. Shadow Flame Shard. The Shades in Shadow Flame, this is one of the units that I had the hardest time thinking about. They are really cool when they work. So 15, 13, only 5 boxes. So they are the squishiest that we've seen. The Black 13th were 15 12s, but they had 8 boxes. So what do you get for these guys? Well, they all have the same stats, so that part's easy. Fortune Hunter is the main ability that we're looking at here. This model gains an additional die on its attack and damage rolls against character models. So these guys can do a lot of damage, and this is both range and melee. They do have dual attack. They have reposition 3. They're steady. Unpredictable movement says that they can be placed within 4 inches of each other, not 2, so they can get into some weird spots. Okay, so let's think about Fortune Hunter as it relates to their kit. They have range 8 POW 11 weapons, guns, and then they have a range 1 POW 11 melee attack with Critical Heartseeker on each. Critical Heartseeker says that you add a dice and then remove the lowest. And then they have Ricochet, which is kind of like an E-Leaf. You can make an additional attack against something. These guys are really cool if you can put them on characters. And obviously there's a lot of characters in the game. We're talking about a character list right now. But I do worry about their effectiveness. They do have stealth, but armor 13 with 5 boxes. It's so easy to just put blast damage on them. I have a hard time putting them above B. Okay, now we will look at Orgoth and their new undead unit, the Execrators. They have 2 range 1, Mat 7, POW 12, POW 10, Blessed, and Magical. So decent output with 2 attacks. Mat 7 range 1 is fine. They are speed 6, so they have a 10-inch threat. They are 12, 16, so lower defense, decent armor. Let's look at their abilities, though. In Shield Wall, while base to base, they gave +2 armor, can't be knocked down, so now they're 12, 18s. And then let's look at Accursed Armor. A living enemy model that hits this model with an attack gains Weaken. And a weakened model gets -2 defense and a melee attack damage rolls. Weaken does not specify a living enemy model that hits this model with a melee attack. So if you shoot these guys with a gun, you get -2 defense. Now, where the output on these guys is really strong is their guns. Rat 7, range 10, POW 13 shots. And then when we look at the abilities, Snapfire, you kill a model, you get to shoot an additional one. And then Thunderbolt, we're pushing models D3 inches with the option of a crit knockdown. Incredible guns. These guys, you can certainly walk up to the mid table, put out some range 10 attacks, have them each base to base. You're putting out POW 13, you're controlling the battlefield, and people are going to be hesitant to attack them back because of Accursed Armor. They are undead, so obviously they don't suffer the living penalty that seems so common these days. I'm going to put them in the A tier. I think they're a really cool unit. Okay, so the last unit is the Troll. In the Trolls, we have the Lakabash brothers. So let's look at them. Defensively, they're defense 13, armor 14 with 10 boxes. These are probably by far the worst defensive stats that we've seen of any of these units. Maybe save for the Black 13th, they're 15 12s with 8 boxes, but I'd much rather be defense 15. So let's look at their abilities. They are all the same. They have Gang, so that definitely increases their melee output. They have Sanguine Bond. This is something that we used to see in Menoth models before. They can share damage between each other. So as one gets hit and takes 8 damage, you can spread that damage around through the unit. And so you have a way through these 10 boxes of keeping them alive for a lot longer. They do have set defense, so if you're going to get charged, they have sidestep, so after they make a melee attack, they can move 2 inches, and they have Pathfinder on the charge. Let's look at their weapons a little bit. Range 12, POW 12, Snapfire. So this is a lot like the undead unit in Orgoth that we just saw. Range 12, POW 12. If you kill a unit, you can put another shot out. Now, what they seem to be missing here is inspiration. Most of these units are Mat 7 and Rat 7. They're only Mat and Rat 6. So while Snapfire here is good and range 12, POW 12 is good, they are one rat lower than those Warlock units, and they don't have the potential for the crit knockdown. Now let's look at their melee potential. They do have 2-inch range, POW 12, brutal charge because they get +2 to damage rolls, and they have gang. So they're going to be POW 16, MAT 8 on the charge. That is very good. They do have combined arms too. So you could charge in, hit something, sidestep, and then line up your guns to shoot. My issue with them on the bayonets, though, is they are speed 6, range 2. They don't have any way to increase that range. When we looked at the unit for Old Umbry, they can sort of get a vengeance move of 3 inches. And so that gives them a real threat extension. Now, these guys do have the side benefit of being able to put out range attacks in the middle. The hardest part for these guys that I find, though, is the 13, 14 stats and then 10 boxes. Granted, they get to share the boxes across each other, but if you put just some like POW 15 shots into them over and over again, I say over and over again, it only takes a few. Your dice +1, you're doing 8 damage a shot. I don't love their durability. And for that, I think it hurts them a ton. I think Sanguine Bond is really cool, but I think I'd still like to see them maybe armor 15. This is the unit that I struggle with the most. I want to put these guys in B tier because I think they can do some good work with the rifles, trying to stay safe before having to charge in with the bayonets. If you get a bayonet charge, they're going to be really good because that's really good damage with gang. I just worry about them getting across the field. I worry that you stick your head out once, you put those range 12 shots out, and then they just get blown off the table. They don't have any other defensive buffs other than being tough. A lot of these other units we see with prowl and stuff. So in the end, as much as I begrudgingly want to, I am going to put them at a C. Now, after having done all of this, I do think it's important to recognize that all of these units are good. All of the character units are powerful, and they all deserve places in lists. So just because these units are in B and C tier doesn't mean that they shouldn't see the table. Character units in Warmachine have always been very competitive. So still expect to see all these, but still a fun way to look at them in comparison to each other. Thanks for watching another video. Please like and subscribe. Talk to you next time.